Did you hear about the economist who claims that there's no such thing as a free lunch? He's still trying to figure out how his wife's credit card works. Now, if you've just rolled your eyes and thought, great, another drab lecture on economy, well, hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to turn that misconception on its head. So let's take a moment to appreciate the irony of the situation. Here we have an economist, a supposed expert on money matters, baffled by the workings of a credit card. It's like a fish wondering about the mysteries of swimming. But that's the beauty of economics. It's all around us, subtly influencing our day-to-day lives, yet it manages to confound even the best of us at times. It's not just about numbers and charts or predicting the stock market. It's about understanding the fundamental principles that govern our world, like why your favorite brand of coffee costs what it does, or why your landlord insists on that annual rent hike. You see, economics isn't a dry, boring subject reserved for stuffy boardrooms and university classrooms. It's a thrilling saga filled with suspense, drama, and plot twists, where heroes and villains are often not who you'd expect. It's the story of us, our jobs, our homes, our decisions, and how they all come together to create something bigger than ourselves. So, whether you're a high school student trying to make sense of your economics textbook, a business owner figuring out how to price your products, or just an everyday Joe or Jane curious about how your country's economy works, you're in the right place. We're about to embark on an exciting journey into the world of economics, a world that's as fascinating as it is complex. We'll laugh, we'll ponder, and who knows, we might even shed a tear or two as we unravel the mysteries of supply and demand, inflation and GDP. So, buckle up and prepare for a wild ride through the land of supply and demand. Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a whole lot of other things that can make you pretty darn happy. Let's dive right into it. Money, cold, hard cash. It's an integral part of our everyday lives, yet how many of us truly understand it? No, I'm not talking about knowing how to count it, or spend it, or even save it. I'm talking about understanding its role in our economy, and its journey from the barter system to the digital currencies of today. The concept of money was born out of necessity. Picture this. You're a goat herder, and you fancy a cup of hot, steaming coffee. But the barista doesn't want a goat, she wants a chicken. Now you're in a pickle. Do you find a chicken herder who wants a goat, or do you give up your dreams of caffeine bliss? That's where money comes in. It's a common medium of exchange, a go-between, that simplifies transactions. No goats required. Over the centuries, money has evolved, and how? From shells and stones to gold and silver coins, from paper notes to plastic cards, and now, digital currencies. Every step of this evolution has been about making transactions simpler, more secure, and more efficient. But here's where it gets interesting. Money, in itself, holds no value. Yes, you heard it right, that wad of cash in your pocket? Worthless. It's just paper and metal. Its value comes from its acceptance by others as a form of payment. And that acceptance is based on trust. Trust that the money can be exchanged for goods or services. Trust in the system. So what's the role of money in the economy? Well, it's a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value. It facilitates trade, measures wealth, and allows us to save and plan for the future. It's easy to say that money isn't everything, but try telling that to the barista when you're trying to exchange a goat for a cup of coffee. So money does make the world go round, or at least it makes the coffee shop go round. Ever wondered why diamonds cost more than water? It's not because diamonds can quench your thirst. Here we are, diving into the heart of economics, the dazzling duo of supply and demand. Picture this. You're at a bustling market and the air is thick with the smell of freshly baked goods. You come across a stall selling chocolate chip cookies. Now you absolutely adore these sweet treats, and you're not alone. Everyone's eyeing those cookies. The baker, a shrewd businesswoman, has just 10 batches of these delicious cookies. The demand is high, but the supply is limited. What happens next? The price of the cookies skyrockets. Why? Because the baker knows she can charge more due to the high demand and limited supply. That's the law of supply and demand in action. Now let's consider a different scenario. The baker has a surplus of raisin cookies. Not everyone's a fan, and there's a mountain of them left unsold. So what does our baker do? She slashes the prices, hoping to entice more customers to buy. Again, this is supply and demand at work, but in reverse. When supply is high and demand is low, prices drop. But hang on a minute. Who or what decides these prices? Enter the invisible hand, a concept introduced by economist Adam Smith. This isn't some mystical force controlling the market. It's simply the sum of all individual decisions made by buyers and sellers. As people respond to price changes, buying more or less of a product, they inadvertently guide the invisible hand, which in turn adjusts the market price. So why do diamonds cost more than water? Even though water is essential to life, its supply is abundant, hence the lower price. Diamonds, on the other hand, are rare, and their extraction is costly, hence their higher price. So the next time you're buying something, remember, you're part of the grand game of supply and demand. Inflation isn't just something that happens to balloons and your ego, it happens to economies too. Now, before you start panicking and checking your bank account, let's get something straight. Inflation isn't a big bad monster out to eat your savings. It's just a term economists use to describe the general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. Sounds scary? It's not really, it's just like when your favorite chocolate bar costs a bit more than it did last year. But how does inflation happen? Well, imagine you've got a town that produces apples. One year, there's a great harvest, and everyone has an apple. The price of apples is low because there's plenty to go around. But the next year there's a bad harvest and suddenly apples are scarce. People are willing to pay more for an apple because they're harder to come by. The price of apples goes up. That's inflation in a nutshell. Now, a little inflation is actually good for the economy. It encourages spending and investment because people want to use their money while it still has purchasing power. It's like when you buy that chocolate bar now because you know it might cost more later. But too much inflation, that's a different story. It can lead to what economists call hyperinflation. Now, this is where things get a bit dramatic. Imagine the price of that chocolate bar skyrocketing overnight. Suddenly, you need a suitcase full of cash to buy it. This is what happened in Zimbabwe in the early 2000s and in Germany after the First World War. People literally needed wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread. So, inflation, like many things in life, is about balance. A little can spur growth and spending. Too much can lead to economic instability and chocolate bars costing more than a small car. And that's why you might need a wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread in an inflated economy. Just when you thought we were done, we've got more economic mysteries to unravel. We've tumbled down the rabbit hole of supply, demand, and the invisible hand, and we've even popped the bubble on the intriguing world of inflation. But my friends, our journey is far from over. We have only skimmed the surface of the colossal iceberg that is economics. There are still countless questions to answer, theories to explore, and economic phenomena to demystify. If you thought this was a roller coaster, buckle up because the ride is about to get even more exhilarating. That is all for today. Keep learning and exploring all the knowledge in the world. See you next time.